Everyone has a story. Some are whispered in the quiet of night, others echo across generations. But the best ones? They inspire, they challenge, they move us. Welcome to A Story to Tell, where history meets hope, where faith meets the real world, and where every tale points to something greater than ourselves. I'm your host, the storyteller, and in each episode, we uncover powerful, faith-filled stories of courage, redemption, purpose, and perseverance. Stories to steer your soul. Stories to share with your kids before bed. Stories you didn't know you needed until now. This isn't just another podcast. This is a story to tell. You know the name, but here is a story to tell. He was just a teenager when they took him, ripped from his homeland, uprooted from family, culture, language, and temple, marched into captivity under the shadow of Babylon's towering ziggurats. His name was Daniel. You know that part. He should have been a casualty of war, a forgotten exile among thousands. But the king, Nebuchadnezzar, tyrant of tyrants, had a plan. He was building a think tank, and he wanted the best and brightest from the lands he had conquered. Daniel fit the bill. But there was a catch. To serve the king, you had to become like the king. Eat his food, drink his wine, speak his language, worship his gods. And that's where Daniel quietly but firmly drew the line. He asked for vegetables and water. A simple request, a quiet stand. Not because of diet trends, but because Daniel had purpose in his heart not to defile himself. He believed that character was not situational and conviction was not up for negotiation. 10 days later, he and his friends looked stronger than the rest. God honored that quiet stand, and the king took notice. Time passed. Kings changed. Empires shifted. But Daniel rose. When others schemed, he prayed. When lions roared, he knelt. When visions came, he listened. And when his enemies plotted his death for praying to his God, Daniel didn't panic. He opened his windows, faced Jerusalem, and did what he had always done. Not for show, not for rebellion, but because faith doesn't hide just because culture disapproves. The lions were real. The den was deep. The king was regretful. But God was faithful. And in the morning, Daniel stood untouched. Now kings would bow before Daniel's God, and generations later, when the Magi came from the east, following a star, some say it was Daniel's ancient prophecies that led them there. Even in death, his influence rippled through time, pointing the way to a greater deliverer. You see, Daniel wasn't just a prophet. He was a prisoner who became a statesman, an exile who became an example, a man of prayer who changed empires without ever lifting a sword. Daniel's story is more than just a Sunday school classic or a tale of survival in a lion's den. It's a timeless reminder that quiet conviction can shake the foundations of empires. He didn't lead an army. He didn't start a revolution. He simply remained faithful when the world around him demanded compromise. In a culture that tried to rename him, reshape him, and reprogram him, Daniel stayed rooted in who he was because he knew whose he was. And that's what makes his story so powerful. He didn't shout his faith, he lived it. He didn't force his way into influence, he let integrity speak for itself. Daniel's courage wasn't loud, but it echoed through palaces across generations, and even into the New Testament with whispers of a coming king. Today, we may not face lions' dens or Babylonian kings, but we do face pressure to blend in, to be silent, to compromise. Daniel's life reminds us that we don't need to be loud to be bold. We just need to be faithful. So, when you are tempted to shrink back, remember Daniel. One faithful life, fully surrendered, can change history. And if God used a captive in Babylon to shape nations, He can use you right where you are. You've heard His name. Now it's your turn to live with purpose. Because now that you know the rest of this story, you have a story to tell.